You sat on this couch before, but it had a different slipcover at the time.
That's right.
All right, we are live. Hello, welcome everybody. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. Welcome to the third monthly Portal to Ascension show. Was this the third or the fourth, Shreya? Might be the fourth, huh?
Third.
Okay, we did the first one was Humanity Awakens. Then we did the one with you with Shayla. What one was that?
That was
Reclaiming Your Power.
Yeah, and shifting timelines. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is the third one. And we have, ptashow.com. A lot of you have joining in the Zoom room, did sign up on there. And that is our new website for this show. We're planning to go monthly and pick a topic and go, deep in this topic, have a discussion. But more than that, show reverence these specific topics. You know, on PTA, we do so many different events, deep dives with single speakers, multi-day conferences. But this is a little more fun. They're all fun. No, this is as fun. How about that? This is done in a different way where we get to showcase different information and speakers and also provide some music, but also just overall reverence for the subject. And today's topic is ancient civilizations. And I'm really excited to be here with my co-host and one of my best friends, Shreya, who not only has been, as a lot of you probably already know, with and working alongside Portal to Ascension and us with her since 2012 now on so many different levels, but also shares the deep curiosity and connection to our ancient past, and really wanted to explore this topic as well. So Shreya, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with us, and everything you've done to even create this event, because you put so much energy into it.
Thank you. And I'm thrilled to be here with some of my favorite people who also love this topic and are in love with the ancient world and the mystery of it, the magic of it, the beauty of it. And we really are here to celebrate it today. So it's a wonderful reunion of souls here as we remember and recalibrate and recollect and feel in, even if just energetically, into our connection with what has transpired before on this planet, which was a worldwide civilization of advanced spiritual beings, which were probably in many cases us in other lifetimes and embodiments with our brothers and sisters, where we had incredible knowledge, power, and wisdom that was blended with spirituality to manifest things in the earth plane that we can't even begin to understand how they even did it right now. And they try to pretend that they're like, oh yes, they did it with primitive tools, and it's just, maybe they did have primitive tools, because we can even talk to Nilesh about this maybe a little bit, but they did do advanced things with very simple tools in some cases, but the vast knowledge that we have at our disposal here in looking at these things is mind-boggling. So we just take little bites and try to comprehend.
Right. Well, yeah, what we're doing here at Portal to Ascension, and many people have different intentions or are trying to piece together our ancient past, and it's not about this giving you definite answers of what it is, even though sometimes we're having these like archaeological discoveries that completely shift our perspective. But it's really a deep dive into piecing together the ancient history of humanity, because we've been so fragmented from the truth. Not only our ancient past, the cycles of time, the evolution, devolution of consciousness, ancient civilizations that could have existed on this planet that we may have no record from, because it's been so many cycles since that even happened. It's not just about exploring what and who these individuals were, but it's also understanding the cycles of time, consciousness, and the planet, so that we can navigate this reality and create harmony and have an awareness of our ancient past. Being on this planet with amnesia, not remembering our past lives, not remembering our ET lives, now is the time for remembrance. So when we remember our connection to the stars, remember our connection to our souls and our spirits, we're also remembering the antiquity of human history. And, depending on who you ask, that even may go off planet. So, these are the things that we're exploring here today. So I'm excited to be here, part of this event. And do you want to go over who we're going to have with us today?
Sure, absolutely. We're going to start out with Dr. Sam, who's not pictured right now. Maybe we can welcome Dr. Sam on video.
Yeah, he keeps going in and out of the room, so I think he might be having an issue. Let me check here.
Okay, sure. Well, and Dr. Sam is is the major expert on the Bosnian pyramids, which are highly healing. And Sarian said he's actually been there in this lifetime as well. I'd really love to go at some point. I think Neil's planning on going. I'm planning on going at some point. So that's going to be a wonderful presentation if we can get his tech up and running. And we're grateful for him because he's on the other side of the world right now, probably in the middle of the night, I think. So we're grateful for him. And then we're going to follow that with a talk by Sarian, who's a regular presenter at Portal to Ascension and just a dear-hearted spirit who has studied these things deeply as well, both esoterically and internally, as well as outside studies, research, and as far as I understand it. So it's going to be wonderful to have some words with Sarian. And then Nilesh Oak was also with us on the Indus Valley civilization presentation and just blew us away. We were like, more please, more please. So we're very excited to have Nilesh back for another little snippet here of his deep, incredible, powerful research. And then we have Larisa Stowe, who's just such a dear heart sister, longtime sister, many lifetime sister, soul sister, love of my life. Being, if we spent too much time together, we would just ascend. It would just be done. We'd be like, bye. Nobody here. No, all gone. Paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Anyway, Larisa is a beautiful musician in her own right and works with a band called Shakti Tribe as well, and brings in beautiful mantra music and other very inspiring, uplifting music that blesses our souls. And so we get to spend some time with her today too in celebrating this topic. So, and then Neil and I are going to chat as well a little more. We're going to have a little dive and continue our basking in the bob of all things ancient history, together with dialogue between and amongst all of us who are able to stay here, with the presenters here in between every speaker. So Nilesh and Sarian, Larisa, Dr. Sam, I invite you to also comment once a presenter finishes. If you've something's bubbling up within you, we have about 3 minutes to dialogue and wrap it up and share our thoughts. So
Beautiful. So we are having issues getting Dr. Sam on. So why don't we skip forward and maybe put him in a later slot?
Sure, if he's up for it. It's to be super late out there for him.
Yeah, if he can get back on. Otherwise, we'll just keep flowing.
Okay, so what would we like to do then? Who would we like to start with?
Well, let's start with Sarian because he's right up after Dr. Sam.
Okay.
All right. So
here we go.
Yeah. So welcome, brother. And let me just do a brief bio about you before
Yeah, sure.
On. But everybody, I'm excited to be introducing Sarian here. That we've been working together for quite a few years now. Did a lot of galactic awareness info, and my favorite events, the Arcturian connection ones. But Sarian actually, through his downloads, experience, research, traveling, is really connected to multiple facets of this awareness that we're now uncovering. That is leading us to this evolution. And so a little bit about his bio here, but he has actually been featured in a couple of ancient history conferences that we've just done. We did the Mesopotamia conference, which he provided his perspective there as well. So Sarian's research into UFOs, ancient civilizations, human origins, and the hidden history of the world took a dramatic turn during his first year of college when he started having out-of-body experiences. Research turned into exploration as he learned how to travel dimensionally and through time in the out-of-body state. Soon he began receiving visions, visitations from angels and ETs that showed the living records of Earth and other worlds. Now, more than 25 years later, he's sharing what he's discovered through his unique journey and process of research, revelation, and psychic exploration. So, Sarian, brother, appreciate you so much. Always love it when you're here. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to present, and I love this audience of explorers and all of the things that are coming out. There's so much new information and research coming out, archaeological evidence, people having awakenings connected with these ancient monuments. I'm actually in the process of starting to work out the possibility of doing a bit of an Egyptian tour in another year or so, and going out there with a group of people. It'll be my second trip to kind of dig in on some of this stuff even more. Well, since we have such a short presentation today, I want to really dig in on one specific idea and message related to the pyramids in Egypt specifically. And it's an awareness about the design and purpose of these pyramids that connects with the awakening that we are having right now. Not only where we're at now, but other phases of global awakening that are still in front of us. So the survivors of Atlantis that built these things, and not during the time of the dynastic Egyptians, it was thousands of years before that. When they built these things, they were very forward thinking. They designed these pyramids to be like living biocomputers that could store profound levels of information. When these pyramids were fully operating, they were connected to other worlds. They were pulling in light from other dimensions. They were broadcasting a field all across the world. And this was a kind of living biotechnology that was incomplete without a group of high-level initiates, high priests and high priestesses that were part of the operating system of the consciousness of this living technology. And so part of the great legacy of that ancient civilization is passed on in the form of vibrational memories that were being encoded into these stones. Now, the Atlanteans, when they were building cities, building these kinds of pyramids, this was not like a typical Atlantean building. If you went to an Atlantean city, you wouldn't see a whole bunch of giant stone pyramids. People can't live inside of them. They built buildings that were very beautiful. They loved working with different forms of crystal, and they had buildings that were very transparent that used a lot of crystal, or the equivalent of the way we have buildings covered with glass on the outside, very breakable, not things that would necessarily last 12,000 years. So when they built the pyramids, they were thinking about how are they going to reach the people of our times with a message. So they had to build things that were going to last, and they had to build things that had a purpose in different time references. So there was multiple purposes in multiple different time references that were going into the design of this. And we are only just now starting to see some of those purposes being revealed, both in terms of what we're learning from the architecture, the design, the mathematics, and the messages in the stone in that regard. But the real function of these pyramids is going to begin to reveal itself more and more as an instrument for delivering the living vibrational memories of consciousness, the achievements of consciousness that took place through the initiations and the experiences of people that were pulling light into their bodies, and then bringing those pieces of knowledge from the cosmos and imbuing it into stone. So the light that's flooding into the world now, coming from different ancient star systems, is reactivating these pyramids, and it's raising the vibration of the planet till we reach a threshold where it's like these memories start to just flood and spill over into the field that's being captured and generated and held in our consciousness, so that these ancient memories become available to us. So to me, that's what's the most interesting about the legacy of these ancient times, is the way in which they planned how to store memory so that it could reactivate inside of us. Now, where does my information come from? So back in 1998, 99, somewhere in there, I was out of body, and I went to the Hall of Records underneath the Sphinx in Egypt. I didn't realize that's where I was at first. I was just out of body, and I was in this space where I was able to access all of these holographic living memories of Atlantis. And I started viewing the actual destruction of Atlantis, the destruction of the island, what led up to it. I was fascinated. So I was able to just look and answer questions and leap around inside of different people's bodies. I saw the destruction of Atlantis from many different angles, from being a person on the ground, from being up above it, miles above, looking down at the destruction as it occurred, as if I was watching it from a bird's eye view. And then at some point, I sort of had an awakening, and I realized I'm inside the Hall of Records underneath the Sphinx. And the moment I realized that, all these angels came in around me, and they were sort of confirming this and ensuring that I was going to wake up with this memory and realize, the Hall of Records is now open. People can start to access this information in their consciousness. Well, there are a number of other kinds of halls of records that got created, and they're like living time capsules in different parts of the world. These are things that if people are asking the right questions, if they're attuning their inner senses to the earth, they can start to pick up on the frequencies that are starting to emanate as these time capsules open vibrationally and start leaking bits of information into our consciousness. So I wanted to comment as well on a few of the things that are being put out there by other people. I've been seeing, there's an enormous number of podcasts out there that are starting to cover this topic of Atlantis. Some of the bigger ones, like I see, Randall Carlson. He's, talking a lot about his theories of the location of Atlantis. Jimmy Corsetti, Ben from Uncharted X. These guys are out there. There's an enormous number of people following them. And I wanted to comment very briefly on some of the things that I'm hearing from these guys, because I find it very interesting. In fact, the puzzle that we are unraveling now, and that people like this are unraveling now, is part of the design of the ancients. They designed a puzzle for us to figure out. They wanted us to notice the kinds of things that are being noticed and to start to put the pieces together. That's one level of the awakening, putting together the physical pieces, studying the architecture. The next level is going to be through this field of consciousness that's strengthening in the world. So Randall Carlson, he's devoting a lot of time and attention to the idea that the Atlantean island was connected with the Azores Plateau in the Atlantic Ocean. I've seen a lot of attention being drawn to the Recat structure. Jimmy Corsetti talks a lot about that. And, was this potentially the structure that represents Plato's Atlantean city, in the way in which it was designed with these circular rings as an ancient port city? Based upon what I actually saw in the records, and can I actually do a quick share screen here?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Let me just, how much time do I have left?
You got about
2 minutes.
What?
2 minutes.
4 minutes? We started a couple minutes late, so like 4 minutes.
Okay. Just going to do a quick share screen here. So this is the Recat structure, just for reference, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Fascinating structure. I'm not going to dive into the details of this, but people have been wondering, was this part of Atlantis? I'm not going to try to answer that question. What I will tell you, as we zoom out here, is that when I was shown the civilization of Atlantis in the Akashic records, I was shown that there were Atlantean cities that stretched across the northern part of Africa, all the way from this area in Egypt, all the way across northern Africa. So yes, it actually could possibly have been an Atlantean city. Not saying one way or another, but this was originally a very green, very lush band of earth. And there were Atlantean cities here that have since been completely destroyed, covered over by the sands, not by chance. The earth was consciously involved in the process of wiping out what was there before, which also reflects the consciousness of those who wanted to forget and went into denial of the destruction and the failure of what that civilization represented. So that's an interesting connection that we want to look at more at some point, the connection between how the earth responds to our consciousness and how our denial of the past affects the earth, and how our awakening to what happened may uncover things that have been waiting to be uncovered. So, very quickly, this is the Azores Plateau, right in this little region. And when I was having visions of the destruction of Atlantis, I did see it as an island continent that was off in this area. Another very quick reference that I want to go into, and I'll do stop the shared screen here. But there's a lot of talk as well about the Younger Dryas impact theory, that there were comets or asteroids that impacted and brought about the end of that civilization. Based upon the records that I saw when I was in the Hall of Records and viewing all these holographic memories, the destruction of the island took place through warfare. It was destabilized by the use of energy weapons. I hope to maybe tell more of the story in a future broadcast. We're going to do the Atlantean conference next year, so maybe we can go into some more details about what that actually looked like. But whatever may have happened with the Younger Dryas impact theory or comets or asteroids may have been part of how the Earth recreated the climate so that it restarted civilization in a whole new way. But it definitely was not the thing that destroyed the island itself, which was the main center of civilization.
Amazing. So many questions.
Yeah, so many things to say about that.
So many dot connections. But I feel when we have the conversation later, you meet Shreya, let's bring Sarian back on and talk about that. Because I definitely want to talk about, well, let me just say this. What is the most unexcavated place on the entire planet? The Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
The Sahara Desert, yeah.
That's true. On the earth, of the earth part. But yeah, that's true. The Sahara Desert, like there's so many, if we were to go in the Sahara Desert and really start using the LiDAR to like go deep dive and start pulling things out, I feel like we would have to change our history books like in a very short period of time. There's just so much that occurred there. And yes, at the time of the fall of Atlantis, beginning of Egypt being created, that was right around 11,000 years ago, in the moment that the Sahara was completely a lush oasis. It would be the perfect place to live.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess that every one of us here could probably respond to Sarian for another 12 minutes, just ourselves easily. And so I just want to check in and see if Samir, Larisa, or Nilesh have anything burning that you're wanting to say in response in this couple of minutes that we have here.
I just find it fascinating. I mean, it's just a fascinating conversation, and what you were sharing resonates. And I just love that these conversations are coming forward, because it opens up our consciousness to really receive how we are so much more, than what it appears to be. So thank you.
Yeah, I will just say it made me curious, and that's the whole idea of having sessions like this, of the out of body experience you have. It also reminded me multiple experiences, not mine. I would love to have one, but one of my gurus, late Dr. P.V. Vartak, in his meditation, he went to Mars and another time to Jupiter. And some other time, I would love to share his experience in a very triangular fashion, scientific fashion, and why it is justified. So thank you for making me think of that experience of my guru, but also building the curiosity. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yes, let's have a whole call about that Mars Jupiter exploration. Yeah, we got to do that one.
Dr. Sam, do you have any comment that you'd like to share?
During my presentation, yes.
Okay, so so my comment is, one of the things I've been studying about Atlantis here being in Florida, the land of flowers, the Garden of Eden, some think, with Atlantean pyramids in the Gulf and Stargate and all these things that people feel are here, as well as a lot of old architecture, is that Florida was known as part of southern Atlantis. So if you think about the entire Atlantic Ocean and how it connects to both Europe and the United States, now it opens an entirely amazing, gorgeous can of worms to look into and feel into the energy of Florida. I started feeling the Atlantean energy as soon as I got here. I was like, oh my gosh. And that there was a very long time in Atlantis, which was absolutely pristine and wonderful. And it was attacked, from my understanding as well. It was a takedown, as opposed to some of the other myths that we hear. But anyway, that's why we're doing a whole conference on Atlantis. Yes.
Yeah.
And before we get into Dr. Sam, I'll just quickly announce it. We're doing a 2-day conference called Ancient Atlantis Conference in June of next year. So it's going to be 2 days. deep dive 10 hours a day on Atlantis, just to get many different perspectives, and just explore this continent that we hear so much about, from the esoteric wisdom, spiritual understanding to the archaeological evidence. What are we finding now?
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for starting us off with that
Cool.
brilliant topic. Sarian.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So do we want to introduce Dr. Sam now?
Yeah. You want to go ahead and introduce him?
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a light introduction here. Dr. Sam is the world's foremost expert on the Bosnian pyramids and has for decades, I believe, if I'm saying it correctly, has been researching, studying, excavating, taking people in there, comprehending the deep truths about this amazing relic, if you can call it that, this amazing historical monument that is still activated today, kind of in the way that Sarian was talking about, that it's literally still providing healing energy and healing waters for people. And it's one of the most fascinating things on the planet. And I long for it, actually. I pine for it. Sometimes I imagine myself being in there at night just to start to begin to get a taste of the feeling of the energy there. So I can't wait to go. And we're so thrilled to have you. So without further ado, please take it away, Dr. Sam.
Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you here today. So I'm Dr. Sam Osmanagic, and for 4 decades, I have been researching pyramids and megalithic sites on 6 continents. 18 books about the ancient civilizations, translated into 17 languages, discovered the Bosnian pyramids back in 2005, and they have become the most active archaeological site in the world, with me as the principal investigator and 75 of my employees. My PhD is about the Mayan pyramids, and this is what I've concluded. Almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. Humans are not the product of evolution. Pathogenetical engineering happened 400,000 years back. Civilizations are not 7,000 years old, as non-scientific Encyclopedia Britannica or Wikipedia claimed. According to the Sumerian king list, the first advanced civilizations are 273,000 years old. And the pyramids, they are not built only in Egypt and Mexico, but on all 6 continents. From unfortunately destroyed Gympie Pyramid in Australia, which was destroyed last year, to 250 pyramids in central Chinese province of Shanxi, 28,500 years old Gunung Padang Pyramid in Western Java, Indonesia, Koh Ker Pyramid in Cambodia, 7 pyramids on the island of Mauritius, 224 Nubian pyramids in Sudan, 155 pyramids on Egyptian soil, not 118 as Wikipedia claims, 155. I have investigated all of them and have them in my books. 104 pyramids on Canary Islands, 300 in Peru, Acapena Pyramid Complex in Bolivia, more than 100,000 pyramids built by Mayan civilization in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, 97% of them being covered by soil, vegetation, in forests, in jungles. In the United States, we have 120 pyramids remaining in what's called Cahokia National Park in the state of Illinois. In Europe, 3 Palencia pyramids, 43 on the island of Sicily, Italy, 1 on Sardinia, 16 ancient Greek lands, and finally the Bosnian pyramids. I discovered them back in 2005 when I came to visit the local museum in the town of Visoko. And then I saw this hill with 4 sides, 4 triangular faces. Even though covered by forests, I could notice perfect geometry, 4 corners, same slope from bottom to the top. I took a compass, it showed me the perfect orientation of the sides to the cardinal points, east, west, north, south. And by then, I I've learned that pyramids in China, Egypt, Peru, Cahokia, Indonesia, Cambodia were oriented to the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. I started preliminary research in 2005, finding more proofs. Finally, I wrote the book, had a huge press conference, announced to the world that the first European pyramids were discovered. Since the cultural establishment of Bosnia and later the whole world was against the project, claiming there are no pyramids in Bosnia, we had to find creative solutions for our work. So we opened the projects for the volunteers from all over the world. So far, in the last 13 years, 3,750 volunteers from 64 countries. They come anywhere between June and October, stay for a week, 10, 15 days, 30 days, 60 days, or 3 days. They become part of the discovery. What did we discover? 6 pyramids, which we named Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid, the Tumulus complex, which consists of 2 tumuli. These are artificial conical hills, and huge network of the underground tunnels. We've discovered 6 entrances to those tunnels, built in prehistorical times, 30,000 years ago. So far, we cleared 2 miles out of 60 miles total. We discovered entrances to 2 different levels of those tunnels. Most probably, we have between 3 and 7 of them. From the archaeological point of view, huge discovery. Scientifically, also, we have applied teams of experts in energy phenomena, physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, medical doctors, and we have proven that pyramids were built not as the tombs for the pharaohs, but as the huge energy amplifiers. We have answered 4 out of 5 questions in archaeology, and they are what? Pyramid complex. Who? Still don't have that answer yet, but we know very advanced civilization that was able to manipulate with huge quantities of material and producing very specific frequencies. 3, when? We've done 28 radiocarbon dating uranium thorium analysis, concluded the age of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun as a key structure is 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. The next one, how? They have covered the Bosnian pyramids with the artificially made concrete, which is of better quality than what we can make today. Our concretes in 21st century, when it comes to hardness, are in the range from 10 to 60 megapascals. The concrete that covers Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun from 73 to 155 megapascals, and we cannot make such a quality with our technology. The last question, what? What was the purpose of building such a huge complex, far bigger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt or Giza complex? The Sun Pyramid in Bosnia, 360 meters, Great Pyramid of Egypt, 146.6. So, what was the purpose? We realized that the shape of the pyramid amplifies the energies. Pyramid of the Sun is built above huge iron plate. Iron generates electromagnetic field. The pyramid pulls this field, amplifying it. How do we know that? Because we measure it at the base, at the top. At the top, signal is 50 times stronger. We repeated this experiment with my Russian colleagues. In the case of the Red Pyramid in Dahshur in Egypt, the same result. Secondly, below the pyramid in Bosnia, underground water flow. Water moves, releases negative ions that are highly beneficial for us. And then we measure the concentration of negative ions, and they are the biggest on the planet. I measure them everywhere, from South Africa, Jordan, Egypt, Vietnam, US. Today, right this moment, I'm in Montana, researching Montana megaliths, also perfect discovery here. But the concentration of negative ions in Bosnian pyramids are by far the largest on the planet. The next energy source The second water flow below the first one, between them, fraction, charge, electricity. The pyramid pulls this electrical field. It goes through 7 levels of tunnels in the pyramid, going through the top of the pyramid as the energy beam, which is measurable. It's 13 feet diameter, then it expands to 70 feet, coming back to 13, 70, 13 elliptical, 28 kilohertz frequency of electrical field. It's continuous all 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. In science, they are called scalar waves. The brilliant mind of Nikola Tesla was experimenting with the scalar waves in 1899 in his lab in Colorado Springs. In the last 50 years, the Russian physicists were doing the same. They concluded that the speed of the scalar waves is much bigger than the speed of light, or at least the speed of information within scalar fields are much bigger than the speed of light. So our conclusion, the first potential purpose of pyramid energy, communication device. Second one, we have noticed that people go to our underground tunnels, stay for an hour, come back, they feel much better. People with a high blood pressure, it gets normalized. People with a high sugar in the blood, it drops for 5, 6 points. People with all kinds of pains are gone. People with the mental problems, helps. People with very serious diseases, we can see revolutionary improvement of the health. We've done scientific research, concluded we have combination of 9 factors, 9 elements. Very quickly, the first 5 is the absence of all harmful radiations. In the tunnels in Bosnia, no harmful cosmic radiations, no natural radioactivity, no geopathogenic radiation, no signal for the cell phone, no signal for the Wi-Fi. For the first time when you enter those tunnels, your body cells don't have enemies. They can start doing their job, and that will be resolving the problems in the body, starting the regeneration process. And we also measure for more energy properties. So number 6 would be the best frequency of electromagnetic field, 28 kilohertz. That's our planetary frequency. Number 7, the best frequency of the ultrasound, also 28 kilohertz. There's the levitation frequency. People feel light. Number 8, extremely low frequency, ELF, 7.83 hertz. In science, it is called the Schumann resonance, original Schumann resonance. It's not in America no more. It's not in the contaminated places, but it is in the tunnels. So this frequency brings us back to the balance. And number 9, high concentration of negative ions. The combination of those 9 elements makes the Bosnian pyramid tunnels the safest and the healthiest place on the planet. The purpose number 3 of the pyramid energy, to improve the molecular structure of the water. What we drink in the cities, treated water, no viruses, no bacteria, but it's been treated with the chlorine, which is poison. It's been treated with the fluoride, which is poison. Traces of heavy metals, traces of plastics. That's the reason why people get sick drinking city water. Bottled water, even worse. Bosnian pyramid water, energetically alive, vibrates high. So the third conclusion, purpose of the pyramid energy, to improve the molecular structure of the most important liquid in our life, water. Number 4, food. Number 5, immunity. The key word today is not a vaccine, but immunity. Number 6, development of spiritual senses. Besides 5 physical senses, which help us to create our physical reality. But what's beyond the physical reality is created by our spiritual senses. And of course, mainstream science and the government does not want us to develop spiritual senses. Because if we develop some of them out of 30, for example, to feel the energy, to see the energy, to see bioenergy fields around us, auric fields, to see chakras, to see colors of chakras, to communicate by thoughts, telepathy, to move objects with our will, telekinesis, to move through space and time, teleportation. If we develop some of them, we would become free. This is what they want. They don't want us to become free. They want us controlled and manipulated. So now we realize that pyramid has so many purposes. They were built not for one dead body, but they were built to serve the communities and to last almost forever. Thank you.
Amazing. Just
Thank you so much for that download.
that was the cliff notes of global
Yeah.
pyramids. Yeah, I think we should organize a trip to, these words are just coming out of my mouth, Neil. I think we should organize a trip to the Bosnian pyramids.
Talking about the trips, yes, please be serious, because we are the only huge archaeological site in the world, not run by the government, museums, ministries of culture, or universities, but by non-profit, non-government organization. 2018, we had 40,000 visitors. 2019, 50,000. 2020, first Corona year, 74,000.
Wow.
2021, last year, 136,000. 2022, we project at 170,000. Very soon, 250,000 and then 500,000. I told you I had to be creative when it comes to run the project. So even though I have been biggest donor for last 15, 60 years, now when I got my business in Houston sold, so we rely on archaeological tourism, on tourists, on groups, on people who come there and enjoy for a week. You know, people thought seeing the pyramids like in Egypt is to go there, take a selfie in front of big pyramid, Great Pyramid of Egypt, ride the camel, and that's it. Wrong. Pyramids. Climb the pyramid top, go to the tunnels, feel the energy, feel the healing, talk to the like-minded people, stay for a week, go to the tunnels twice a day, see the biggest stone spheres on the planet, meditate on top of the tumulus or on the sun, moon, or love pyramid. And then you realize that pyramids are much more than simple, even though sometimes monumental structures.
Sarian, I sense you have something you want to share here.
Yeah, I have been there. I've been down in the tunnels. Can I do a share screen real quick?
Sure. We just need to keep it a little tight because we're
I'll do it really tight. So like I'll just show a couple pictures as I'm talking. It'll just take a second. So I actually was down there, and the energy is amazing. So we actually took some of our bowls down there and played some of them for the people coming through.
Nice.
This little area where some of the energy is strongest, I sat there, and while I was meditating, I had an experience of feeling the earth energy come up, like the Kundalini energy of the earth, and my third eye opened up. I felt expansion of consciousness taking place while I was down there in those tunnels. And we also did a meditation from the top with our crystal bowls.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so the energy is real. It's amazing. I highly recommend it if people are thinking about checking this out for themselves. I think you'll have an experience if you feel called to go there. There's something for you to discover.
Beautiful. Larisa and Nilesh, do you guys want to make any comments? Share anything?
Just hearing about this, my crown started buzzing. My mind is blown, but it's also I'm receiving a transmission energetically from this as well. And I'm just so happy. To be honest, it's, I have like, oh, I want to go there. I want to experience this even more so than in Egypt. For some reason, this is just like, wow, this feels really big and such a huge discovery of healing for our planet. It's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. We couldn't have made this even after planning, which is what Dr. Sarian referred to when talking about the pyramids going to 12,000-year-old pyramids. And referring to the Sumerian records or Sumerian history, you referred to 270,000 years of the king list. And when I present, I am going to present two numbers which resonate with these two numbers too.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
So connected. It's so connected. I think that's the biggest thing we've got to wrap our mind around is that we get taught that these things are siloed individual instances, but I invite everybody to sort of crack that shell and be like, wait a second, this is the whole world was in communication with one another around the world. And much, much, much more was going on than what we've been taught. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's such a profound discovery. I would say this is one of the most profound discoveries, not just the fact that, the carbon dating goes, I think you said 29,000 years, right, Dr. Sam? Yeah, that's a couple of cycles of consciousnness, right? Who are these people? But then also the fact that there's all these miraculous healings going on. What if we could figure out how to duplicate this technology in order to really create healing around the planet? And that's, I guess we'll just close out with you on this question, Dr. Sam. You've tried to mimic certain things that were going on, such as the magnetic field from the top and the bottom. Have you guys tried to do the same thing with the technology in the tunnel, like create that outside of the tunnel to cultivate that experience, or is that even possible?
Well, the major thing is to reduce the harmful radiations that we are exposed every day. If we can have a signal for the phone, it means we are exposed to the beta electromagnetic field. If we can have internet, it means that we are either under 4G or 5G, tomorrow 6G network. They are extremely bad for us. We are here in my case, under blue Montana sky. A lot of harmful radiations coming my way. So we need to remove all this harmful radiation, and then the body cell starts this regeneration process by itself. And if you have some helpful energies, then detoxification process continues. And then, of course, we need to take care, what we eat, what we drink, what we think, where we spend our time, in nature, in harmony, or within four concrete walls, watching the magic box, telling us how many deaths and how many fires and so on. So it is really the choice of every one of us, what kind of the world we are going to live in.
Right. Yeah, it's really like a roadmap, if you will, of the different things that we don't really need in society or are creating detriment to us in a negative way. And then we can maybe figure out either if we need them entirely, because, obviously they're resulting in us sickness, or if we can create that same effect using a frequency that's harmonic and has a beneficial experience to humans rather than. So we're doing everything so unconsciously. We're just creating frequencies and not figuring out that, people are vibration and that vibration could affect our vibration.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And
Beautiful.
So, Neil, we have about 10 minutes to our next segment.
We have time?
So in other words, why don't we just use our segment to continue this amazing conversation with everyone?
Yeah.
You are like, let's just keep going. Because we're getting in here and we're bringing up some things. So I just invite everybody to keep going until our next, let me just double check here on the timing. So until about 3:03, which is Eastern time. So another 12 minutes or so, we can just chat here. And thinking civilizationally, I think, is how we want to start inviting ourselves and one another to think in terms of a civilization. And when I think about all those pyramids all over the planet, I think of how they probably created a force field for our entire realm when they were fully activated. And people talk about influences from outer space, or whatever you want to call that, beyond the dome of the quarantine, or whatever that is, the ice shield, or whatever you want to call it, depending on your take on how the universe is constructed and how the earth is constructed, that there was a protection device going on. Do you guys agree with that? Like that the pyramids would have created protection, not only for the people going into them, but for the area that they were in, but then collectively for the whole planet. What do we think about that idea?
Well,
I think that's a longer discussion.
Well, the way I see it, what we have proven is that the pyramid as in the case of our planet, it is four-sided pyramid. It's energy amplifiers. So pyramids amplify our natural energy sources. If our planet, if our mother planet is strong, when you amplify strong energy, you are getting even stronger. And she used to be very strong until 12,000 years back, until the end of the last ice age. After that, she has become so weak. So the pyramid still amplifies, but very weak energy. And that's the reason why you can feel this energy only in Bosnia, at least, when you're on the pyramid or in the tunnels. But originally, probably, it would affect 200, 300, 400 miles radius. It would affect the agriculture, the social relationships. Let's not forget the interesting experiment that our Russian colleague, Dr. Alexander, did with his pyramid. He put kitchen salt for a month, then distributed it to the nearby prison, 5,000 prisoners. For 3 months, they were taking kitchen salt in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. After 3 months, he went there. He asked if those people noticed any changes. And they told him that the prisoners, they look like completely new prisoners because the violence level was reduced to 0%.
Wow.
0%. Now imagine 5,000 prisoners. There are always some people loving to play with the knives or guns, or 0%. After this experiment, he went to the Russian government to renew the contract. They told him no. It seems that our governments want us to be violent, so they can, get in the middle with the, police force and the armies and inspections, whatever, so they can rule us. So the pyramid power is there. And to answer your question, if Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has its own energy beam, we also measure it in the case of the Moon Pyramid, Dragon, Love, Tumulus. But those beams, they are like directed towards the Sun Pyramid. And it seems that the Sun Pyramid collects all this energy, shooting it above. Now we know that the Kukulkan Pyramid is also an active pyramid in Mexico. I personally filmed with the new, it's called the New Energy Vision camera, the second largest pyramid in Egypt, Khafre, and the largest one, Khufu, or the Great Pyramid. They are still energetically active. For example, the pyramid in Saqqara is not. And then Pyramid of the Moon in Teotihuacan, energetically active. So theoretically, you could collect this energy coming from those energy beams somewhere in the atmosphere. And then, if you want, you could make the shield around your planet. Or you could make also another beam hitting on some places on the planet. So, I mean, if energy is there in quantities large enough, they can use it any way you want.
Right. Wow. Sarian, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, in my memory of the Egyptian mystery schools and the college of high-level initiates that were working with the Great Pyramid and those temples when they were active, like I said, they were the key component. They were able to capture these energies. They were part of the multidimensional channel that these pyramids were designed to create. And so the field that broadcasted out and held the whole civilization in that field was not just coming from the pyramids, it was coming through the chakras of these Egyptian initiates, which were greatly expanded beyond the confines of the physical body. Like most people walking around, their chakra fields are very compact and closed down by comparison. So, anyone that's had an experience of feeling like a chakra open, whether it was sacral, heart, third eye, we're getting a glimpse into the way that these initiates were walking around all the time in the field of these pyramids. They were also actively helping to raise the vibration of that field through the tantric initiations and tantric work that they were doing because it took a balanced masculine and feminine energy to continue to refine the balance of the field and broadcast it out even further.
Mhm.
Wow. Amazing. Nilesh, does the anything that you want to add there? No, okay, yeah, just taking it in. Larisa, any comments?
And this has not been an area that I've really explored, so I'm just really taking all this in and getting a lot of transmission from it.
Mm.
More than anything else, it's like I feel, just move. I keep feeling Shakti just moving through my body.
Right.
And I'm very grateful to be here to receive all this, this
Mhm.
mind blown. It's like, oh, right. Okay, this is a complete different way of experiencing the understanding around the pyramids. Just like, it's like,
And
wow.
our health is such a big issue right now, right? Like that the ancients had the setup for health to be the norm and to be expanded and probably to feel better. We can even imagine feeling right
Mhm.
now.
A whole different value system.
Dr. Sam, I want some of that salt. Can we get,
Mhm.
you have that, like, that would be an amazing thing. Can we go on some website and order some salt that's been hanging out in the Bosnian pyramid?
Well,
What-
even better, water.
Water.
Mhm.
We have discovered 5 tons of water, and we've analyzed. First, we've done conventional analysis, which is physical, chemical, microbiological, no viruses, no bacteria, no fungi whatsoever. pH is excellent. It is not neutral 7.0. It's 7.45. Our blood is 7.35 to 7.45. And finally, when we sent the samples to the late Dr. Masaru Emoto in Japan, we could see that the molecular structure is hexagonal. It's a beautiful crystal-like structure around it. This is energetically happy water. It's alive water. It vibrates high. Everything in our life is, like Nikola Tesla said, about the energy, frequency, and vibration.
Right.
Purpose of our life is not to grab and have material stuff. It is to vibrate high, to live the life which is fulfilled, joyful, happy, with love, to vibrate high. And this water has the highest vibration possible. That's the reason why we started, bottling it, selling it souvenir with very small quantities. You can mix it with the regular water, since Bosnian pyramid water has superior information. Very soon, that bottle of water starts vibrating higher. So water is so important. Volunteering is so important. Coming to the site, spending a week meditating, diving deep into our inner universe is important. Having contact with other people from all parts of the world is important. So, we also purchased 1 million square feet of swampy land, muddy land with a lot of trash. We transformed it into one of the most beautiful parks in Europe. We have become the cultural oasis, sports oasis. We built tennis courts. Novak Djokovic, world #1 in tennis. He's been coming regularly now. We do sessions of yoga, meditations, book promotions, festivals of tango and salsa and folklore and singing and dancing.
That's it. I love Bosnia.
Yeah, we are showing the different concept of living, not what they try to force us to, transhumanism.
Yes.
But the concept where you live in harmony with the nature and other human beings. We are not here to, have this social distancing thing where everyone should be our enemy. On the contrary, we are social beings. Everyone is our friend.
Yes. We're in the process of rediscovering and uncovering a lot of things, but many things have been uncovered already and they just need to become mainstream now, and everything you're sharing, Dr. Sam, is that You know, like the solutions are there in plain sight at this location. Not only how to heal from illness and sickness, but the fact that this great civilization existed at a time that we were told that there were only primitive people around on the planet,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Like, who
Yes.
were they? What did they know? Where did they get the information from? Was it meditation? Was it some star beings? Did they come from an even more ancient civilization that passed it down? So these are the questions that I feel and I hope that we're going to start uncovering, you know, in our future, right? It's the next step. It's the next step, right? You said it's the one thing left. Like, who were these people?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for that conversation, everyone. And Neil, now is the time for us to make a few announcements about what's coming up at Portal to Ascension.
Yes. Okay, let's do it. How much time do we have for announcements here?
2 minutes, I believe.
All right, everybody. So I'm just going to quickly show the Portal to Ascension conference that I've announced a couple times, but we haven't done a full broadcast on it yet or anything like that. So we have a lot of things coming up at Portal to Ascension, as a lot of you may know. Our new website is underway, almost there. Final tweaks happening right now. Many more hours of content being launched on our new site than we have on a current one. Maybe another 1,000 or so plus free hours of content, including documentaries, presentations. Such a robust platform. Not only are we going to have retreats, and Sarian, we need to talk later because we're taking 2 groups of people to Egypt in September. So I'm thinking maybe we can collaborate on something. So we'll talk. But so that's going to be on our new site, the retreats to Egypt. We have courses coming out. We have our online events, and we have the Portal to Ascension Conference San Diego, plus the Portal to Ascension Conference Glastonbury, which is going to be launched within a few days. So we're taking Portal to Ascension internationally, as in regards to live events. From May 1st to October, I'm going to be in Europe, living in the UK and other places. We're going to be doing pop-up events, Portal to Ascension events everywhere. And but Glastonbury is going to be the main conference that we're going to do, 3-day event there, connecting to Avalon, some King Arthur energy, some ancient Celtic wisdom, and overall ascension work. But I want to just share this for the next minute here. Is after 3 years of being online, right, we are now back live for the Portal to Ascension Conference. This is the 5th annual one. And it's going to be in San Diego, California at the Marina Village Conference Center, which is like 5 minutes from SeaWorld, overlooking the ocean. Super beautiful. And I'm just like really excited to be able to go back to live events because I love the online events. But since I do so much online events, just imagine me during COVID, like I was exponential online events. I was just like on one every single day. And it got to a point where I'm realizing that what was I missing in my life was connection, more connection, deep connection, networking, coming together, sharing, singing, having a good time, and spreading this awareness in person. So it's a beautiful opportunity now for us to go back live again. So April 21st to 23rd, 2023, we're going to be in San Diego, California for the return of the in-person Portal to Ascension Conference. And I just will show you some speakers here really quick. Firstly, Larisa Stowe is going to be there, and she's going to be performing with the Shakti tribe. And we're also going to have Adam Apollo. He's going to be DJing as well. You guys might know Adam Apollo. So he's going to present and DJ. Some of the speakers are JJ Desiree Hertak, Robert Schock, Carolyn Corey, Robert Edward Grant, Adam Apollo, Linda Moulton Howe, who's extremely excited because she has some information from some whistleblowers and some not even classified, not declassified, still classified documentation in which she's going to be releasing some awareness at our conference. She's holding off up until then because she's waiting for some things to evolve. So there's going to be some groundbreaking information from Linda Moulton Howe, Barbara Lamb, Michael Cremo, who wrote the book on forbidden archaeology himself, Geraldine Orozco, the Stargate experience, which would be an epic sacred geometry pyramid that's going to be created for us to meditate and get activated within. Ra of Earth, of course, Shariah Dharma, Lori Spagna, I'm going to skip forward a few people here, Jenna Layden, Torquem G, and the brother Alan Steinfeld, who's pretty much on 80% of our events now. So Alan is definitely going to be there. So yeah, 3 days, guys, a lot of fun, great experiences. Not only are we in this beautiful conference center, but we're also right by the ocean. So we get to overlook the ocean. We get to eat together. There's going to be some amazing vendors. So check it out at ascensionconference.com. All right. How's that, Shreya?
Great. Yes, sounds wonderful. Thank you. So again, it's my pleasure to introduce Larisa Stowe, who is going to sing us some music today to help us integrate and experientially feel into the fields that we're co-creating here in speaking about these amazing pyramids and this ancient history. And Larisa is not only a musician, she's also a coach. I believe you're still doing the coaching work, Larisa. And a moment with Larisa is a transformational thing, whether you're listening to her or working with her. and so I think probably people can find out all about you at larisastowe.com. Is that correct?
For the most part, it's all about the music there.
Okay.
People find my coaching, like find my Emblument coaching through my music, but not so much on the site. You know, it's all, you know how that happens. It's all interconnected.
Where do people go and find out more about your coaching?
I don't have
Directly.
It's all through word of mouth, honestly.
Yeah.
But they can always, you know, you could reach out to my email at larisa@larisastowe.com, and then I can share a little bit more about that.
Well, if you all want, during her musical performance here, I would invite you perhaps to imagine your favorite pyramid, or maybe we could all take a little trip to the Bosnian pyramids and just imagine ourselves in there while we're taking in this beautiful music from Larisa. So thank you. Without further ado, Larisa.
Thank you, Shariah. And thank you to everyone here. I feel very, very honored to get to open up the energetic more, even more, and give us permission to chant together. I'm going to open up the gateway, our root chakra, with Om Namo Gurudev Namo, and also bringing in a Ganesha mantra, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, which is also very activating for the root chakra as well. So I invite you to sing along, chant along, feel it in your body. Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Ganapataye Namaha 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 Om Namo Gurudev Namo
Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om 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 Gam Ganapataye Namaha. The oak within the seed, the flute within the reed, the harvest in the grain, the ocean in the wave, the titan in the small, the rise within the fall, in form and formlessness, you're the light of consciousness. 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 Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev Namo. Want to do one more? Yes, yes. So I wanted to bring in one for activating our Kundalini, like supporting the activation of the Kundalini, which is such an inside-out teacher, and helping to also stabilize the Kundalini as well. It says Om Aim Hreem Shreem Sa Adi Shakti Namah. And again, I invite you to chant if you feel like it. This is participatory. And your vibration matters, so vibrating with this. Om Aim Hreem Shreem Sa Adi Shakti Namah. 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 Om Aim Om Aim Rim Shrim Sari Shakti Namah 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 Om Aim Rim Shrim Sari Shakti Namah. Thank you. So much love. So much love surround you.
Thank you
all.
so much, Larissa.
Thank
You know, this is our natural state. That's the thing we can begin to remember, is that when we get into these higher frequencies together and individually, it brings tears to my eyes, really, that this is our natural state that all the ancients were pointing to us to in this amazing wealth of scripture and knowledge and passed down spiritual wisdom, oral tradition, music, song, dance, architecture. It all had to do with being able to stay in the higher vibrations. And we don't have to leave. That's the thing. We get tranced with the world and all of the things going on, and it's just like, oh, and then there's this, oh, and then there's this, and we're chasing, the gunas are chasing us, or we're chasing the gunas, and and we get entranced, and then all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, where did that wonderful feeling go? Oh, well, this is why we practice. This is why we have a spiritual practice, whatever flavor anyone wishes to have. Keep bringing ourselves back to that beautiful state you brought us into. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's my spiritual practice. As you said, that spiritual practice is absolutely necessary.
Right.
Daily spiritual practice.
Daily, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
Necessary, especially now in the world, that we have this time to connect with our heart and connect with source inside out.
Yeah. I feel like we're at a time where it's time to bring back harmony to the planet. We've been living disharmonically for quite some time. A lot of things that happen on the planet, even if you might not think it has anything connected to the fact that we're living out of alignment, just these illnesses and sicknesses are coming out. They're a product of us not living in harmony with the planet, ourselves, and each other, right? And so with this, all of this ancient wisdom is coming out, right? What Dr. Sam was sharing and what you're doing with your music and bringing harmony back. So I'm really excited to have you at the conference, because honestly, we talked like 7-8 years ago, trying to have you at one of my first live conferences. And it was like, it's literally the icing on the cake for me to have you there, because it shows the evolution over those years and me trying to get to the point where we can collaborate and work together. But why it's so important to have you part of this event is that we're learning a lot of information. It's a lot of education information. The experience of harmony is really what we need to cultivate as well. Not just the education, the information, the mind-blowing awareness, experiencing it and embodying it. And that's really what you do, I feel, when you facilitate these kind of experiences.
Well, I love it. It's so heart opening. And every time, we sing together, we dance together, we chant together.
it does really activate
Seriously.
that higher vibrational frequency within us. It realigns us with who we are, with source, with authentic self. So
Mhm.
I need it. Like I can not go a day anymore. Like years ago I thought I could, but it's like no. It's like
Mhm.
not a day goes by where I don't have my morning spiritual practice.
Mhm.
And it's foundational. It's a non-negotiable. And sound healing, working with these beautiful frequencies of sound, it just, and the
Right.
mantras, the Sanskrit mantras, so powerful because it's not really meaning based as much as it is vibrational based. So
Yeah.
you can't help it, but you get into those frequencies
But
with
feel it.
Sanskrit and with the music, and it's it just
It's
brings back the
numerology too. It's all the frequencies and the sounds have numbers associated with them, and the yantra and the mantra and the entire vibration, and then the Sanskrit words are compound words, so they and they have multiple levels of meaning to them as well. So as you begin to dive in and study and embrace the scriptures, then you begin even me just being able to study it from English. I like to see the words, the Sanskrit words, just to feel their vibration.
Right.
But as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come, and the teacher comes in many forms, including looking into this ancient history and all that has to offer, the wealth of spiritual knowledge there.
And what I've discovered with Sanskrit, with these seed sounds and working with it, is that the reason why we see so many meanings ascribed to Sanskrit as well is because it is hard to just bring it to this one piece of understanding. It really does. It is able to hold. Sanskrit is able to hold so much of the vibration of love. And what I've experienced is, as we are evolving, and I like to say we evolving, that Sanskrit, our understanding of even what it means, evolves. And I've seen that. I've seen that, like with the Ganesha mantra as an example. The Om Gam Ganapataye. My teacher, mentor Thomas Ashley Foran, Namadeva, he would speak about Ganesha being the remover of obstacles, but what isn't really spoken to, and he did touch on it, but it's not really spoken to a lot, is that Ganesha is not only the remover of obstacles, Ganesha is actually also the bringer of obstacles as well. and there's a very important reason for that. It's like no mud, no lotus, right? So we are beginning to embrace, as we are evolving, rather than like I've just got to get rid of all my obstacles. It's like, well, what am I learning from these messes in my life, so that these messes become messages in our life? It becomes more of an unfolding of who we really, really are through those obstacles, through those messes. So that is just as much necessary. So as we understand this, then the meaning, you start to hear people embracing, oh yes, Om Gam Ganapataye is not only about the gum, the seed sound is not only about removing, it's also bringing those necessary obstacles and messes right in our life, right?
Wow,
So,
that's beautiful.
thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
moves me deeply.
That reminds me of the whole Shiva component. Shiva is not the destroyer; he's mostly like the recycler of energy. It represents the nothingness, the black hole, but the energy just gets recycled into a whole new experience. It's like both duality represented within it.
Right. So we begin to
Right.
understand, and that consciousness expands, as we expand.
Yeah, yeah.
And are able to embrace new aspects of knowledge that
Hmm.
maybe were a little hidden before.
Exactly, and we're bringing it to the surface now. And there's one other thing I want to say on Sanskrit is actually there's a NASA scientist, his name's Rick Briggs. He'd recommended to NASA that Sanskrit's the best language for AI. So NASA has now adopted the Sanskrit language for all of their AI. And it's because of the multidimensionality behind it all. Frequency, vibration, mathematics, harmonics, So, whatever you think about the agenda there, I'm not talking about that. The fact is that this language is so multifaceted that they're realizing it's the best way to have organisms that we're creating become sentient on themselves, by themselves.
Wow.
Right? It's pretty profound. Yeah.
That's profound. That's
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Sarian,
Larisa, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted
Go
to
ahead,
check
Sarah.
Sarian to see if you had a comment you wanted to.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Sarian, were you wanting to share anything? You good? Okay.
You're muted. Okay, you're good. Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, then, without further ado, I look forward to introducing Nilesh now for everyone. And so, Nilesh Oak is an author, researcher, speaker, and corporate consultant, and he holds a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, and also an Executive MBA. He has published 3 books and writes extensively on ancient Indian history. And Nilesh helps Indians become aware of the deep antiquity of the Indian civilization so that they truly comprehend, present, or defend the grand narrative of India, unlike most other Indic researchers, because he builds it through scientific acumen and logic reasoning. He is adjunct faculty at the Institute of Advanced Sciences in Dartmouth, Mass. in the US. And yes, that's one of the ways in our Indus Valley Civilization program that Nilesh just blew our socks off with his incredible years of research about the Ramayana. And you can find that on the portal2ascension.org site if you want to go back and listen to that presentation during that conference. And so, Nilesh, thank you so much for being on today. And we very much look forward to seeing what you have to share with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the previous speakers. Just a wonderful one. In fact, when Larisa was talking about the Ganesha, the not only who removes the obstacles but brings it, I just said, if Shreya asked me to comment, I will choose not to comment, because that's like opening a can of worms. It's so beautiful. Not many people know about it, by the way. Even in Indian circles, it so happens that Ganesh is my Ishta Devata, the kind of work that I'm involved in, and so is Goddess Saraswati. So that's where what I do, that's where we naturally get pulled into. Some of the things that I would like to discuss today, it will bring in, and I did not plan it, and you know that because other speakers did not tell me what they were going to talk about. In fact, it is my first introduction to a number of you, actually all 3 of you. But so interesting that, and my presentation is ready. So it's not like I'm adding something to it, but I'm going to show you the connection with the pyramids, the connection with the Sumerian king list, and how far back, at least on a paper, we can track the antiquity of civilization. And then the last discussion on Sanskrit. Okay, so let me share the presentation here. I have timed myself, but tell me if I go over. All right, give me a second. There. So number of us are searching or researching into a very specific area. And what happens is there are many more who are very curious and very interested. Now, for them, they will come to a wonderful seminar like this, grasp multiple things, but they go out into the normal world or abnormal world, let's say. They typically face these kind of hurdles, like, as to what do they know, what do they believe, what do they feel, and now what do they do with the interactions that they see. So, for example, I just thought, this could be a useful framework for people to interact with all this new wisdom that we receive. Larisa mentioned the sadhana, the daily practice, that's important, what we do. Or Dr. Sarian, for example, he going into an unfamiliar circle. By unfamiliar, I mean where somebody going into a meditation and going to the bottom of the pyramids and actually experiencing something. That's like, what are you talking? So, for example, what do people know, or what do the seekers know like number of people in the audience today, for example, that the civilizations are ancient. We're talking about the mysteries of ancient civilizations. Yet you always struggle because the mainstream I cannot imagine, I'm just putting a number there, beyond, say, 10,000 years, And before that, as we said, it's like human beings who are not human beings, they're jumping from one tree to another, or some kind of model that is being dictated or communicated through our academic system and whatnot. Now, in terms of what people believe, well, people believe in dreams. I mean, not so much why they occur, that is also an issue, but what to make of those dreams. Or the dreams, are they real? Are they sending me some messages? Or the experiences such as Dr. Sarian mentioned, I call this empiricism of one. We have to have a reverence for his experience, then only we can seek from what he has experienced, but it is still a empiricism of one. To him, it's more than 100% real. So that's the point I want to make. Then we also have beliefs, number of us, they may not be all same, but life on other planets, about God or gods as a plural, reincarnation, interplanetary communication, travel. These are some of the beliefs that we have. Now, what do we feel? Well, at some time we feel very ecstatic. Other times when we hear something new that our brain is not ready to process, then we feel doubt. When we get into a social setup, we feel helplessness to express our inner convictions, sometimes frustration due to our inability to validate our inner convictions and guesses. So that's the feeling that we have to deal with. And usually what we end up doing, I'm not saying all of us, but good number of us, create our own subjective truth. Many times in a social setting, isolate ourselves from unpleasant discussions. Even if we want to discuss, we said, well, am I going to offend someone? Am I going to bore someone? Are they going to criticize me? And so on. Now, what I want to share are some of the things you may able to look at, and possibly next time you are into this, what do you do? What do you know? What do you believe? What do you feel? May able to respond in a different fashion to an extent. Now, a number of you who may be familiar with Homer Simpson, like Homer asked the question, like if you have seen this episode, God, I got to ask you something. What's the meaning of life? And of course, here the answer where I pulled this from, it says, God says, Homer, I can't tell you that. But I remember one episode where when Homer asked this question, so God, tell me, God is holding Homer's hand, walking along the beach and says, tell me, what's the meaning of life? And the God says, well, the meaning of life is, and that's where that episode ends. And that's actually the mystery, the feeling of, the rapture of living that we feel. Now, how do we feel it? We feel it through these different arts and monuments that different individuals talked about today. We talked a lot about pyramids. We also listened to a spiritual music. Okay, so that's the art. Okay. For example, what we have to be comfortable with is that everything that we are looking at, or everything that we are exploring, we may not get all the answers, and that's fine. In fact, if we get all the answers, there is no mystery. Okay, let me take you quickly to Altamira Caves. This is on the border of Spain and France. Now, no longer they allow you to visit it. So actually, they have made a replica. I had a pleasure going back 20 plus years to actually visit the caves. And now I have not been there for a while, but I heard that now they don't allow the people to visit. It's a replica. Now, it's a proto museum that they have built, So these paintings, actually, let me show you the picture. These paintings, again, you have to focus, almost meditate, for a while before the animal forms emerge to you. These paintings, using different, very sophisticated, very reliable technologies, are dated to 34,000 years BC. So let's take 30,000, 35,000 years, or some of them 20,000 years. Now, that is by itself a marvel. Okay, somebody designing so beautifully, somebody painting it so beautifully. But I don't know if you can notice it. This is like some kind of a deer-like animal with antlers here, going from right to the left. These are the feet, this is the face. I couldn't find a better picture, by the way. On the top of it, there is like a different dots. And I don't know if how many of you are in astronomy, but in astronomy, if you look at it, that combination of the dots is very similar to what you would see with even your good naked eyes or with a binocular, the constellation Pleiades, or in Sanskrit, Kritika. Kritika as in like a scissors, okay, like cutting, chirurgery, which turn into surgery, by the way. The chirurgery, and then coming from the katra, coming from Sanskrit. The point is, this is so fascinating. If that is true, then we don't have, unfortunately, any additional evidence to support this in a way, bring it together as a triangulation. But if this is true, and there is no reason why not to take this as true, then it tells us that the current zodiac system that people are familiar in astronomy, but astrology, is at least 35,000 years old. Okay, but this is like information coming from one piece of information. If you go to Kashmir Valley, that is northern India, there is this rock and it has these inscriptions on it. And this is the authors from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai, who wrote a paper trying to connect this event, connect this instance. They're thinking this is a depiction of some astronomy phenomenon, including comets and a supernova-like situation, and somebody depicting that in the rock art. Now, from the modern astronomy, they could date when that supernova phenomenon occurred and trying to bring it together slightly better, okay? Because now we have at least two sources, but still there remains a lot of speculation as to, is this really truly a depiction of astronomy phenomenon, or just some, say, farmers, just making some shapes, random shapes in their spare time, okay? But this all pose as a mysteries to us. But let's quickly go to the ancient edifices or our pyramids. And at the bottom, that's when Dr. Sarian mentioned 12,000 years ago, and I'm sure he has seen this work of Graham Hancock. I'm a Graham Hancock fan. I have read all of his books. Even there, what I find, not in a negative sense, but what happens is his theory is beautiful. I mean, the proposal that he has put forward in, say, Heaven's Mirror or Fingerprints of Gods, and very, very interesting, okay? That needs to be validated in multiple ways. He has himself done a great job. For example, at the top, what you're seeing is the complex, Angkor Wat complex in Cambodia. And he tried to map it with the Draco constellation, or in the Indian astronomy, Shishumar, okay, into the northern pole area. And at the bottom, the three famous pyramids of Egypt, he tried to look at their alignment and when that alignment would have matched with the three belt stars of Orion, or again in India, Mrugashirsha, or the Shiva. Okay, that is the Nataraja, by the way, in case you weren't aware of it, that the Orion is the Nataraja in the India, like famous temple Shiraya would know in southern India. And again, when those particular orientations were matched by him, that took him to 10,500 BC. So again, because this is happening in multiple places, I personally think the Egyptian thesis is very on a strong ground. In terms of the Angkor Wat thesis with Draco, definitely there are links. But it's somewhat that, I mean, when I actually looked at the details, I had to use my imagination. But let me speed forward. Quickly, I want to show you two other instances. So via ancient sciences, going back to 8,000 BCE. Now, if you look at, everyone is familiar, I presume, with the latitudes and longitudes on the surface of the Earth. That's how we tell our location, the GPS systems work, and so on. Now, if you extend this against the sky, then we get the celestial latitudes and celestial longitudes. Now, something very interesting about them. One of the ancient texts on astronomy, some of you may be familiar, called Surya Siddhanta. Very old, but let's not get into how old it is. Okay. In that text, just like you talk of the 12 zodiac, that 360 degree in Indian astronomy is divided into 27 equal parts because moon completes one cycle in 27 days. What is interesting is that there are these specific stars for each of those nakshatra, and Surya Siddhanta has listed their longitudes and latitudes values. What is so fascinating about this is a work by a NASA scientist. Now, he did not work at NASA, but he worked at India's NASA, ISRO, okay, who has sent so many satellites now. Now he works in America as a consultant. And so what he looked at is that the latitude values in Surya Siddhanta for the specific 27 stars in the sky do not match with the latitudes today. So naturally, the latitude measurements were made in the past. And he went on this search to see what that time could be. Okay, of course, he's very sophisticated in terms of astronomy, but also computer programming and whatnot. He put this thing together. I want to quickly jump and show you the results. All of these measurements simulated using 10 different ways always take him to 8,000 BCE. Simply stated, those specific latitude measurements were made and recorded in Surya Siddhanta in whichever form, as a memory, like, oral tradition, written tradition, doesn't matter. 8,000 BC, that's 10,000 years ago. But let me fast forward just to manage my time. We talked about the Sanskrit. Now, this is, so far we looked at trying to remember these memories in the edifices, in the monuments. But what if we are lucky to have a stable, expressive language, which is also non-drifting in nature, which is to say for thousands and thousands of years, the meaning doesn't change or changes only very little, only a little. And what if we have a sophisticated and stable timekeeping? Now, guess what? Astronomy. And especially if you look at ancient Indian astronomy, Surya Siddhanta is a great example, but there is Aryabhatiya, there is a Vedanga Jyotisha, there is a Parashar Tantra, so many others. What you find is that if you look at them, the definition, astronomy is time. It is that accurate, that precise, that stable. And then one more miracle, let's say. What if some genius, some great sages, some great seers thought of taking that stable, expressive, non-drifting language and combine with the sophisticated and stable timekeeping of astronomy and write about the ancient events? And that's the talk, in a way, without saying this, I gave last time. So if you have these three ingredients, and if you're lucky to have that last one, which is to say somebody wrote it down, then actually you can explore a lot about the antiquity. And that's how I did, for example, the dating of Mahabharata, more than, say, 300 references, 300 astronomy references, bringing together like a jigsaw puzzle, like crossword puzzle together, fitting right in one place to take you to 5561 BCE. But astronomy is not it. There is evidence coming from all different disciplines of modern science, all pointing, if the evidence exists, if you can test it in the context based on the Mahabharata text description, it takes you to 5561 BC or the ballpark. Ditto I could do for Ramayana, and almost done. This is going back to 14,000 years. That is also the time of pyramids, or maybe say just think of it as a 2,000 years before the Egyptian pyramids, assuming we take 10,500 BC as the timing. Again, Ramayana has 600 plus astronomy descriptions, a text which is 24,000 verses long. Mahabharata is 125,000 verses long. And some of the Sanskrit references, here I have put 6 out of those 600. Even these 6 references out of 600, in a very precise and accurate fashion, are capable of taking you to 13th millennium BC. Looking at the North Pole star of that time, South Pole star of that time, and the nakshatras, the specific stars at the 4 cardinal points described in this text. All right. But then people ask, well, what that's celestial is good. Celestial is equal to terrestrial. That's what Galileo taught us. What about the terrestrial? And this Ramayana describes elephants with 4 tusks, and somebody says, are you kidding? But actually, if you look at the fossil evidence, many of you would know this, Gompotheres and many other species, that the way the species are described, elephant-like creatures in Ramayana with the four tusks, are actually found, and their time goes back to 9000 BC and before. So that matches with the Ramayana time. Or people wonder, this 10,000 year limit, like, was there any signs of civilization going beyond that? Actually, there are. On the Tamil Nadu coast, the southern India, the ports have been found, very sophisticated ports, as sophisticated as Rome and Greece, say 2000 years ago, or better, some of the structures and whatnot, going back to 20,000 plus years. Okay, and more. And we just don't have evidence after that. That is not to say they did not exist before. And different seven ports were changed as the sea levels went up and down. And I'm quickly taking you to Latin America, South America, to Peru. This structure on the northwest coast of Peru, near Paracas, when the Spaniards went there, they asked, like, who created this structure? The locals couldn't tell. They said it was always there. It wasn't created by our forefathers, and so on and so forth. I'm sort of making you jump, so you may not able to make connection. But in Ramayana, the one particular king sends the four parties in the four directions of the world, and he gives them a landmark. As they go, just like a milepost, just like we give our directions, go to this big chicken and take left, and so on and so forth. In that directions, when the king is giving instructions to the search party, I'm not going to read through the right side, but essentially it is a perfect one-on-one description of what this is, where it is, but even it went further, and it told who created it, when it was created, and why it was created. And definitely, of course, it goes beyond 14,000 years. We just don't know how far back beyond 14,000 years that we have to go. 3 slides and I'm done quickly. This is a quick summary of my research, and just for humor's sake, I will tell you something. So I was presenting this in UK, and one of my friend from United Kingdom, he's also consultant. And he has read my books. He was fascinated by this, and he says, Nilesh, you need to add this. And I said, what? He said, please add 1 star there, or a dot, when the European Enlightenment began. And I said, oh, tell me, when did that begin? And he actually gave me the Google reference, 1637 to 1789, whatever happened there, let's say, but with Bacon and Descartes and whatnot. And he said, it's very important everyone sees what was this modern history that was created with a lot of assumptions from that time against what the reality is. In briefly, this is a summary of my work of 30 years, but I promise that I'll connect that with also. So this is connecting easily with the pyramid times, like going back to up to 24,000 years. But me and some of my colleagues, we are all freelance. We do our own work, and in other spare time, we do our research. We could put together, using different type of evidence, agriculture, fossil evidence, all kinds of dating evidence, astronomy, archaeology, humanity, the domestication of animals. And we actually very successfully, with significant evidence, we can actually track going back to 75,000 years, back to Toba explosion. Now, that's not a surprise to this group, but the reason I'm presenting this information is next time you are into how to behave in a group where people may not be receptive, actually there is empirical evidence out there. And Samir mentioned going back to 270,000. Well, not quite here, at least. We are not successful yet, but we are tracing steps backwards, trying to figure out the antiquity of world civilizations. In fact, once you go back beyond 10,000 years, it's not like an Indian civilization and Mayan civilizations. Actually, they are all connected. We are us kind of thing. Going back to what we are right now exploring, going back to 220,000 years. Not bad. Not yet to 270,000, but not bad. Quickly, I want to just show my 3 books. They are on Amazon, and summary. Turn curiosity, those of us as seekers, but even the people who are very excited and interested, turn curiosity, your conviction, your imagination into passion, and thus action. It's a beautiful journey, actually. Feel confident. Now I'm taking you backwards, like what you should do and what you should feel. Feel confident that scientific evidence actually exists for deep antiquity of civilizations. The conference that you mentioned, Neil, like Michael Cremo, I know him very well for many years. Like a lot of evidence coming from archaeology, which is not mainstream. But have that, there is evidence for deep antiquity. Be excited to know what is unknown via stepwise systematic and scientific and logical methods. They exist. They're out there. Believe that subject can be studied methodically. New knowledge can be built on old foundations. And the doubt is the first step in exploring the mystery or mysteries. That is our existence, life, cosmos, more. Guys, just have a great ride. Understand, of course, the limits of our knowledge, comprehension. We don't have answers to every single question. Many times we don't need to have answers to any single question. Many times we don't know the truth of it, and still the life goes on. Finally, be a seeker. It is both a journey and also a destination. With that, back to you.
Nilesh, thank you so much, brother. But first, my first reaction is speechlessness, and then everything starts coming to me. But before Sarian and I share, our thoughts about this, let's go around and open up to Sarian and Larisa. If you guys want to tune in, share some comments about this.
First of all, again, I'm like, okay, I come onto this show to share music, but again and again, my mind is blown by all of you. And I really am appreciating all this wonderful new knowledge that's completely shaking the way I've seen things. I have a question for you, and I'm curious, so I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm letting my curiosity lead me forward. When I was doing research just about the origins of the chakras, like where people first started looking into and feeling into chakras, what I found is that it originated in tantric teachings. And then what was ascribed to these teachings, they said it went back like 600 CE. And I'm like, is that true? It feels like it's much older than that to me. And I'm just curious what you have to say, because this is like, for me, this is one of the most important and provocative, like when you talk about passion, this is where my passion lives, is in exploring the chakras as are related to Kundalini because of my own awakening. So yeah. I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, quick point. The chakra definitely is explored more into Tantra traditions. But also it is true that it is also explored in all Darshana traditions, like say yoga, of course. But yoga as in the sense of seeing, meaning yoga as a tool to explore the world, So like, for example, Dr. Sarian's going into a meditation or going suddenly, I forgot what the words he used. Suddenly he's in his mind or in his state, he's at the base of a pyramid and exploring the things. So that's one. But quickly, the question on the dating, because, that's why the European Enlightenment date is very important. Okay, so what happened at that time, even likes of Kepler and Newton bought into this argument that the whole world, forget the earth, the whole cosmos, the creation began 4004 BCE. And so now with that knowledge, when the colonial times, when say British or other European researchers came to India, and they could see actually, there are books, if you go back 100 years and read the books, the people are talking 28,000 years and 30,000 years into the calculations based on the Vedas. But the European folks who came there, and they were fascinated, but they were always thinking nothing can go beyond 4000 BC. And because of that, actually what I showed you, 220,000 years, 75,000 years, 24,000 years, doesn't matter. Everything had to be cramped into post 4000 BCE. And frankly, what they chose was 1500 BCE as the beginning of an Indian civilization. So once they set that at clock at 1500 BCE, everything has to fall in place afterwards. And that's why you have this everything, practically everything falling around 600 BC, 400 BC, 200 BC, 100 CE, and so on. And as Samir said, all the history that we have been taught is wrong.
Well, where would you see those tantric teachings? Like, would it be 600 CE? But where would you place it? If
Well, I don't know how old we have to go, but I can tell you definitely they go beyond 14,000 years.
they go beyond, so most likely, because you probably know this, like the chakras were not seen as something like definitive places within the body to begin with. It was more used to have people have a way to visualize and work with the energy in the body, right?
Correct.
So what I'm hearing you say is 600 CE, no. Like,
Just forget C or forget BC, forget it. But also you will find the comprehension and awareness of a chakra around the world. I mean, Dr. Sarian would know more about the Egyptian thing, but I have seen Egyptian pictures. And again, my Egyptian knowledge is not that up to date, but the dog-like figure, whoever that is, holding the number 4 chakra. Actually, you might have seen a pillar. I have seen that picture. And that number 4 is the anahata, the heart, the central chakra. And what you see is that the 3 chakras below are in a way reflection of the 3 chakras above, but in a very different fashion. Almost think of it as a celestial equal to terrestrial, or a projection of the celestial on the terrestrial.
As above, so below.
Yes.
And you can almost imagine these archaeologists talking to their bosses. Okay, I just found this 10,000-year-old piece of pottery. What date did you want it to be at? They're like, okay, where is this supposed to come in at? Okay. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, certain people have different agendas at this time. But we're on to it, guys.
The carbon dating machine is not working. It keeps telling me 20,000 BC.
Did you have something? Sorry,
Oh, yeah, I was just going to agree that, yes, this kind of tantric knowledge and tantric mystery schools goes back many thousands of years, before 14,000 years ago. And both, India and Egypt are 2 of the main places where this knowledge has been stewarded, for ages and ages of time. So there's, a rich history and legacy around that knowledge being passed on vibrationally through different lineages. And I just want to just end with one thought. All of this research is amazing. I love that presentation, by the way. Getting to the heart of this, issue of restoring an awareness and a sense of our antiquity is so important. But what people can do right now is to really ask the earth and say, please, Mother Earth, reveal your secrets to me. That's actually, before I had all these visions and out-of-body experiences, that's what I was doing. I was reading, books like, Graham Hancock's work when I was in my early 20s. And I was going out and I was talking to the earth and I was invoking all these guides and I was saying, Mother Earth, please reveal the secrets of our ancient history, reveal it directly to my mind and heart. And I was praying for that and asking for that over and over again, night after night. And I believe there's a really direct connection between those prayers, intentions, and invoking light in that way from the earth, not just from the celestial elements, but from the earth as a teacher. That is part of what led to all of the breakthroughs in consciousness that I had. And anybody can make that request.
Beautiful.
I agree. In fact, my entry into this field began with, in a way, a prayer. I'm saying in a bit of a symbolic sense, metaphorical prayer to Mother Arundhati, the star Alcor, in the Ursa Major. That's how she's known in India, Arundhati. And in my engineering ego, you can say, the problem that I came across, Mahabharata, I thought I'm going to solve this over a weekend. I'm an engineer after all. And this was 1995. And then the mother had a way of humbling me. Again, as we said, the obstacles come, the hurdles are given. They're not hurdles. Wherever you stumble, there lies your treasure. But you must stumble and then you should overcome. It took me 15 years from 1995 to 2009, just meditating and working and solving the puzzle that is given in one verse, one shloka of Mahabharata. But what came out of it is what I briefly presented to you in 15 minutes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nilesh. Honestly, the presentations that you did, and for everybody, if you want to tune into the 2 presentations over the 2-day, 10-hour-day conference we did called the Indus Valley Civilization in Ancient India Origins Conference, Nilesh presented on the full, well, not probably more research, but a full presentation on the Mahabharata and the dating and the Ramayana. And, I've been on a search for mind-blowing experiences most of my life, and this was probably one of them, one of the most biggest ones, just the dots that you connected together. And just the understanding of what we've been told and how we're redefining this, and through so many different disciplines coming to this awareness. One of the things that stuck out the most was I think it was the Ramayana, in which they spoke about not just Peru, but the different mountain ranges throughout Europe, showing that during the Ramayana, it was a global civilization, that something was happening globally, whereas in the Mahabharata, I think you said it was more localized to a certain part of the world, to India, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, to everybody who wants to check that out, portaltoascension.org, you can sign up there. Now, what I want to do before we close out here, we have a few more minutes, is I kind of want to just show a couple of slides and tie some of this even more together. And we're kind of starting out here with where we started in the beginning with Sarian's comment that kind of alluded to that this is all happening the way it should, and that these cycles of time, and that there is something going on where these experiences are being attracted. Yeah, I remember what you said, Sarian. You were talking about how the earth is involved in this covering up phase. And this reminded me of not only what, you said there in the Sahara, but the crop circle phenomena, and how a lot of people are saying that it's not an external being, but it's actually the consciousness of the planet. We see orbs coming out of the planet, and different sightings of that. So it's almost like the earth has this consciousness that is not only contributing to us reawakening, but also assisting us in the sleeping process. Well, wait a second. What does that mean, assisting us in the sleeping process? That kind of goes in hand with, does this happen the way it's supposed to happen, or we're supposed to forget and gain these experiences so that we can wake up? So I want to share just a few slides here that kind of show that and bring it to the mainstream science, that even mainstream scientists or physicists are coming to this same awareness now, that something is going on that is almost like pre-planned. So first I'm going to start with this, the antediluvian and post-diluvian civilizations. And there's a journal of geology and natural disasters that I'll show you on the next page here. And in this article, it says, Earth accelerates on its path to the ice period and slows during its back to the global warming. For example, slowdown happens between 2 leveling of the planet axis of the rotation with the solar one, which means roughly 13,000 years. And I don't need to go into detail on the significance of that number. Spoke about it in many different events. 2 opposite states related to big angular velocity of the core in the weaker energy field. When it is so far from the sun, and the smaller angular velocity, but in stronger break field, when it is closer to it, it can't provide linear law of these changes. It gives the chance for the turbulent event in a very short period when rapid slowdown decreases centrifugal forces. Okay, so what does that mean? So basically, they're saying that something is going on where there's Earth, and I'll go right to the bottom part here. This is from their journal too. Earth is adhering to some sort of cosmic pattern that attracts various forms of natural disasters at a 13,000-year cycle. Okay, and they go beyond that to map it out even more and different things that have happened. But then they also say that there seems to be evidence that there's a pole shift every 13,000 years to 40,000 years. And when they say in this period, turbulent event in a very short period, when these changes occur, it seems to be some sort of positioning of the solar system within our galaxy, within relation to the photon belt that is occurring, that is attracting. It's almost like this whole entire galaxy is one big maze with things in certain places that have been placed perfectly for us when we enter that position of the galaxy to gain a specific type of experience. And here is the article to show you that it's actually a real article. You can look it up online if you just search any of the keywords that I said. But you can see here 4 periodical natural big disasters of the planet Earth during each precession cycle caused by its motion. And this just goes into the fact that they believe that we're rotating in some sort of pattern here. And they even went further, right? This is the Journal of Geology and Natural Disasters. So they started looking at before flood and after flood rotations of the Earth and how the angular velocity shifted in a very short period of time to attract global floods. And If that's not enough, they went a little further and they mapped this out into the future to see when we can expect some sort of cataclysm to occur again, you know? And so this is, to me, this is very interesting, because partly of us understanding our antiquity and ancient civilizations and the existence of Atlantis and why civilizations fell, why the pyramids were created, were they created to keep our consciousness at a higher level, plus a million other things. What are the reasons for this? Partly of us uncovering our ancient wisdom is so that we can really use that awareness and navigate through the universe and our experience on Earth. So mainstream scientists are even now able to predict when they feel these cataclysms could occur again, which could lead to, coupling this with our ancient wisdom, us being able to avoid, if you will, these natural disasters, and there being a reset of society, thereby allowing us to continue to evolve and grow in a higher state of consciousness, which I personally feel is, you know, is basically our fate on this planet, is to shift out of this cycle that we've been in and then get to a higher state of consciousness and maintain that. And you can see here as well is just the rotation. They showed the graph here of the rotation and the precession of the zodiac equinox there. And just one last article here. Yeah, mainstream Scientific American is now even saying, you know, could an industrial pre-human civilization have existed before ours on Earth? And the whole thing that really got me into this understanding of, you know, well, sharing all this awareness in ancient history was that the arrogance of the fact that we think that we're the most advanced that we've ever been, even though there's so much evidence coming out and there's so many things that we're finding, archaeological discoveries, that we can't even fathom how they even began to do what they did, right? And so now, just to kind of show you that we are heading in the right direction here, is could an industrial pre-human civilization have existed before ours on Earth? Yes. And as Graham Hancock said in his, a couple of years ago, is that the alternative archaeologists, right, Graham, Michael Primo, and not just archaeologists, but researchers on archaeology, is really what they are now becoming mainstream. Because of why? Because you can't avoid the evidence and the truth, right? Like eventually the truth will catch up to you. And, you know, as Nilesh has showed and shows in his presentations that we have on our website, that there are so many different ways for us to show the evidence of the antiquity of humanity. So it's only a matter of time, I feel, for our re-education and remembering the truth of who we are and our ancient past.
Thanks, Neil. And it brings me back to that thought form that perhaps all these pyramidal structures were actually some kind of protective mechanism that might have helped us avoid such cataclysms at one point. That, oh, you're muted.
Yeah, exactly. And Sarian actually spoke about it at one event where you spoke about Atlantis and a force field around Atlantis that allowed it to exist within multiple evolutions of consciousness. Am I saying this right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, there was a field, there was a planetary grid. It was the crashing of that field after it had become corrupted by darkness that was, you know, part of what precipitated the actual physical destruction. And the pyramids in Egypt were built to protect an aspect of that field that was supporting the survivors to maintain higher levels of consciousness.
Fascinating. Well, we got about at least another 10 hours of talking to do here.
I know, huh?
You guys are absolutely wonderful. It's been such a joy and a pleasure to have you here today together. And thank you so much for our audience in Zoom and those listening afterwards. And thank you, Neil, for being the founder of the show, and Sarian, Larisa, Nilesh, and then Dr. Sam, who's not with us now. Really appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate
It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
everybody.
so much.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
So much love to everyone.
And thank you to everybody tuning in online and everywhere. Just to let everybody know, we're also launching this on our podcast. So check out our podcast, Portal to Ascension Radio. We're at like 180 episodes now. So if you want to, you know, listen back to this in your car, or if you're on the podcast, you're listening for the first time, thank you. Welcome. Love you all. Okay. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.
Good one. Bye.